the Secretary of State Mark Rubio and other U.S. officials are planning on having a meeting in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, to try to get a resolution to this conflict, and I hope they do. Ukraine launched its biggest drone attack against Moscow and other areas as well. But what I mean, is this something strategic associated with? Because it seems to be an exercise in futility. Is it just to be pesky and try to annoy the Russians? Because apparently the Russians were successful in shooting down almost all the drones.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It is trying to be pesky. It's trying to be annoying. It's saying, "Hey, we have this capability. You might as well use it." Everybody sees that the end game is in progress right now, and these talks in Saudi Arabia are probably going to start to look at the nature of how the war is going to come to an end, and the Ukraine side is not going to like it. Just because they don't have any of the leverage, they don't have any of the power cards to play. They literally don't have any. So they think now, how about this? We make a for public relations kind of operation to launch these things and get this big splashy thing. And I've already seen all these headlines: massive drone attack into Moscow, across Russia, in the Kursk area, et cetera. All this stuff. So it looks good, splashy. Then when you look at some of the pictures, the vast majority got shot down. A few got through. One hit a mall. Another one hit an apartment building. One some cars in a parking lot that got fired because of the gas. Made some great video images. Had nothing, no military significance whatsoever. All it's going to do is just, frankly, make the Russians even madder. And all this is in the context of the Kursk region, a lightning advance that Russia hasn't done since the Ukraine side went in there last August. And now, in just a matter of days, they're just taking massive swaths every day. This thing could be already over in the Kursk area in 2 or 3 more days from now.
Well, I guess insofar, I mean, symbolic. We're striking Moscow. You know, it's like flying a B two or B2 or whatever bomber over and dropping some bombs on Tokyo for the purpose of boosting American morale in World War II. You point out the obvious. It doesn't have any military advantage. They're not getting ready to invade Moscow. But it seems to me, from a strategic standpoint, and I'm no general, don't play one on radio, but the massive amount of drones that they use to engage in these attacks, wouldn't it have been better served hitting the front line Russian troops that are advancing into the Kursk region or whatever
Yeah,
region?
that's exactly what I was saying. It just shows that they aren't even attempting to do something that makes any military sense, because doing these things into Russia, the targets weren't even military. So even the ones that got through were just trying to hit civilian targets, something that they could to get the PR splash. So yes, and when you're looking at the video images actually coming out of the Kursk area here, apparently even the Ukrainian air defenses in the area are almost non-existent, because Russians are flying K-52 helicopters, fighter jets strafing targets, which means there is no air defense whatsoever, not even tactical. So if you were going to fire something somewhere, it would seem to make more sense, as you said, and maybe you should start playing a radio general. I don't know, but that's what I would have done, is to take those where it could have had some tactical advantage for your side, and instead they did this.
Well, I can't remember the region, but I had read just the other day that the Ukrainian forces were getting surrounded and leaving them with little option to retreat, which seemed like an inevitable thing they were going to have to do. Was that the area of Russia that they had taken over that we're talking
It
about?
is, yeah. That's exactly what was happening in the Kursk area. They had an option. I was just almost pleading into the ether on my shows this in recent days, just saying that that's what they should do. The Ukraine side, there was no prospect for holding them. They needed to withdraw and get back while they could, because Russia was having a pincer movement to cut off the one supplier, the one exit route, actually supply and exit. They didn't. They continued to stay there. Now, many of them are pouring out now, even without orders, but in a
Oh,
continuing process that Ukraine has shown almost from the very beginning, back into Mariupol in 2022, in the spring of 2022, every time they get into one of these situations, a cauldron, they never do the military smart thing of withdraw their forces to a more advantageous position. They keep them there, fighting to the last man, the last house, forcing Russia to come and clean them up. And Russia has the manpower to do it. So they lose so many men every time that they don't need to. And this is just the next one in line.
and that's a shame because it's been widely reported, and I haven't read really anything to the contrary. The Ukrainians are running out of people to fight this war. So if you've got people sitting in an occupied region of Russia, which has no strategic advantage other than say, hey, we've taken over a chunk of Russia and we're going to keep it maybe as a bargaining chip in the negotiation, which we all know isn't going to be worth a whole lot, but to leave them there, get them surrounded, and get them slaughtered when they could have been brought back, as you point out, to areas where they were needed. Since they're running out of men, that seems the only logical and reasonable thing to do.
It is the only logical and rational and militarily smart thing to do. That's what they should have done. The whole Kursk thing was an operation of futility from the beginning. It never had any chance to accomplish anything of operational value for the Ukraine side. It had the PR value of, hey, we're finally sticking it to Russia, taking it to their territory. That brief swell made people feel good in Ukraine for a while, but it had no actual importance to the war effort at all. And in fact, then over the months, Ukraine kept sending tens of thousands of people in to reinforce it and all the logistics and everything for something that didn't have any outcome in the war. And there was never, I'll just point this out, never any chance that Russia would have traded that away as opposed to taking it by force, because that would have made them look weak, and they weren't. So they were killing a whole bunch of Ukraine people here that were not available on the Eastern Front where the real fight was going on, the one that actually matters. So I'm just sorry, but this may hurt some people's feelings. But the generalship on the Ukraine side has been hideous, and it's gotten so many of their men killed. That's why they have lost the war, and there is no prospect for them to get a good deal in Jeddah.
Well, perfect segue to where I was going. The deal in Jeddah. What do you anticipate? I mean, Russia's got the upper hand now, and it's a stronger hand than they had, say, 6 months ago. Um, are they going to hold out for even more? You always start with your best foot forward. You ask more than you're going to get because that way you can negotiate backward and not feel like you're really losing anything. Make an outrageous demand. Do you expect Russia to make an outrageous demand to resolve this or to bring about peace and negotiate something back? And if so, what do you think they're going to end up with if you had to read the tea leaves, Daniel Davis?
Well, I would look at it from the other side first in terms of outrageous demands. I think that the Ukraine side will ask, and they already have, asked for a partial ceasefire. They say they want a ceasefire in the sky and in the sea. So no more drones, no more fighting in the Black Sea, etc., while they work something out. That is, I mean, almost you think that it may be a joke that they would ever actually ask for that when it would be only a benefit to them. Russia would have no advantage whatsoever. And as I just pointed out, they were flying K-52s and fighter jets strafing into the area because there's no air defense on the Ukraine side at the tactical level. Why would Russia ever agree to something that can only benefit the other side? What I think is happening here, despite what some of the headlines are, I think that the Secretary Rubio, Mike Waltz, and Witkoff, I think, who are representing the United States, I think that they're telling the Ukraine side, boys, the game is over. You can either capitulate according to the best terms we can get, or you're on your own. If they don't agree to what the United States is willing to do, which is to just bring the war to an end at the best terms they can get, which will be ugly, then I think that we're going to say, then we're going to walk. Trump has indicated that already. He's implied it a couple of times. And if Ukraine still tries to hold out for this great deal that they'll never get, then Russia will simply keep fighting. This issue in the north with the Kursk, Russia's not just going to reestablish the border. They're going to keep going because there aren't very many defenses on the Ukraine side. This could open up a new front. We'll see how it goes.
Well, and I read the Trump administration the other day started denying Ukraine military intelligence. Is that if that's true, is that to egg Ukraine on and just to realizing, hey, it's not your night, denying them valuable intelligence, or is there something behind that, like maybe as a lever to get this minerals deal signed?
Yeah, I mean, it could be all the above, but we had General Kellogg point blank say that this is like, and I'm not making this up, he said this is like hitting a mule with a two before to get their attention, all
Oh,
the
okay.
pausing of this stuff, which is to tell them, I think, fellas, we see the ground as it is. We're not the previous administration. We're not Europe. We're definitely not the Ukraine side. We see it as it is, and you can't win. You can't even hold out. You either make an agreement to bring this war to an end, or we're not going to continue supporting it. And I think that Trump has not given in on that so far, despite lots of pressure, because I think he means it.
Well, and I think what you just said there addresses the folks who are yelling at Trump about selling Ukraine out and being this puppet of Vladimir Putin. It's rather than that, he's just a realist. I mean, is that really not what this boils
Well,
down
and
to?
Brian, let me just point out something because this just makes me crazy because I keep hearing that kind of stuff. Trump
Yeah.
is selling us out. He's given up. You had 3 full years to have everything the U.S. could give, everything Europe could give, everything Ukraine could do, and they lost. For 30 straight months, Ukraine has been losing and going backwards. And you want to say now that Trump should come in and repeat that and do more of what has failed. It's irrational. They're going to lose now because of what we did in the previous 30 months before Trump came in. That is a fact.
Telling it like it is. Daniel Davis, man, I certainly appreciate your analysis. And that's why I look forward to the segment every week. Deep Dive, Daniel Davis. Search for the Daniel Davis Deep Dive online for podcasts. And tune in next Tuesday for another edition at 8:30. Take care, brother. Have a great week.
See you, my brother. We'll see you next time.